Hi, everybody. Frank Mullen here for NavyLyres, the podcast. The podcast. Today's topic, becoming a sailor. I thought becoming a sailor was going to be easy. I thought I would just join the Navy and I'd be a sailor. I was so wrong. I joined the Navy and I was a recruit. I was a worm. I got out of boot camp and went to A school. And what happened? I was a basic student. I was a loser. I was a nobody. I got to my first band. I'm a sailor now. And there's all these salty guys. You're not, you know, E3. Higher. Becoming a sailor is not automatic. It takes time, experience, and I believe a certain, let's call it, loose respect for authority. It's kind of a laissez-faire sort of thing. It's hard to explain, so let's have an example. And we'll call this example, How Tom Murphy Became a Sailor. In the early 80s, I was stationed in Newport, Rhode Island. I was a first class on my way up to great things. And Tom Murphy reported aboard. Tom was an MU3, a third class, real nice fella. Looked exceptionally sharp in his uniform. Poster boy sharp. He's a good trombone player and a real good pitcher-inner. He did a lot of work around the office as well as playing in the bands. Real good guy. He's married. He didn't party a lot with us. Some of us partied pretty frequently. Tom was married and pretty straight arrow. But he had one problem. Tom Murphy was ex-Army. Oh, yes, I know. And we never let him forget it. He'd come walking in the room and say, "Here comes Corporal Murphy." It's sad. We just never let him forget it. Tom, you didn't deserve it, but you know, the past is the past. But we're moving on to real good things here today. The day that Tom Murphy became a sailor, it happened in one day. It took a few years, but the tipping point, boom, just like that. It was after working hours one day. It was 4:15 in the afternoon. The show band had finished its rehearsing for the day, and so all the guys were hanging out. We called it the quarterdeck, around the admin desk. Tom was sitting there. He had the phone watch till 16:30. The mailboxes. It was a lounge kind of place to hang out. And we were talking about, work's over. What shall we do today? What do you want to do? Which was a ridiculous conversation and pointless, since what we were going to do was go out to Jeremiah's Pub, which was the band hangout. That's where we always went. But we're going through this rigmarole, this tradition of, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? So I didn't have my jacket. We were all in civvies except for Tom. So I walked down to my locker to get my jacket, my civvies jacket. I opened up the locker, and I found my old whoopee cushion. I'd forgotten all about it. I'd used it for hijinks in former commands that I worked in. A whoopee cushion, if you don't know what it is, it's like a heavy rubber balloon, and you blow it up. It's got this flap that keeps it closed, and if you squeeze it or put it on a cushion, the pressure, it will make a big fart noise. So I had a little joke that I thought I would pull. So I blew it up, and I stuck it up the back of my jacket. And the weight of the jacket held it there. So I walked back down to the quarterdeck and stood next to the desk where Tom was waiting to answer phones. And I leaned up against the wall, just very gently. The pressure's just holding it there, just waiting for the right moment to lean back and set off the whoopee cushion. There's this important rule of comedy. A lot of rules of comedy will come up. But this one says, a joke isn't funny if nobody witnesses it. And everybody's, jawing, gabbing, and no one's paying any attention to me. And I'm trying to figure out how am I going to get the attention when the phone rings. So everybody calms down a little bit, and Tom Murphy picks up the telephone and answers it. Good afternoon, Northeastern Navy Band, Petty Officer Murphy speaking. This is an unsecure line. May I help you, sir? And we're all kind of quieting down. And Tom says, yes, Captain. So we become really quiet. Tom's scrambling around trying to find a pencil and a paper. He might have to take a message. All the khakis are gone. I'm the senior man in the building. And so we're being quiet. And Tom's, yes, Captain, is taking some kind of message. And I hear something. It's a hissing sound. It's the air is leaking out of the whoopee cushion. And I am bummed out because all this time, I'll admit it, I'd been thinking of setting the cushion off. It was nice and quiet in the room. I knew I couldn't do it. There's this part of me that said, you can't do it, Frank. Tom Murphy's on the telephone with a captain 3 feet away from me. Can't do it. The other side was saying, comedy tonight. Bum, 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 bum. Comedy tonight. So I've got all this going on in my head, plus the fact that the air is running out of the whoopee cushion, and I've got to make this decision, and I'm realizing I just can't do it. Bummer. And, yeah, it's sad. I had a great joke here, but I can't do it. And I guess there must have been some look on my face as I'm leaning against the wall there, because one of the guys in the band, Steve Parent, it happened to be, said, quietly, but just so loud enough that everybody could hear it, he said, Frank, are you all right? You don't look so good. And everybody looks at me. Tom's right there talking on the telephone with the captain. Everybody's looking. I've got the attention. I've even got the setup line. Frank, you don't look so good. Here's the thing. When various values are at play, in this case, Navy, tradition, authority, law, and comedy, when the two come into conflict, comedy wins. So I did it. Steve had just said, Frank, are you all right? You don't look so good. So I grabbed my stomach and leaned back against the wall and said, oh, I ate in the chow hall and something was... The place was silent. Large eyes all focused on me. I kept a straight face. I got, and I let one more go. And the place went wild. Everybody is screaming. And Tom is waving his hands. Shut up. And we're going berserk. People are down on the floor, banging on the floor. I lost. I couldn't keep the comedy straight face anymore. I'm laughing. I'm dying. And then Tom starts to lose it. We see him lose it, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And here's the moment, folks. The moment you've been waiting for. Here's what happened next. Tom Murphy, ex-Army, says to the captain, Sir, we're having a bit of a situation here. I'm going to have to ask you to call back in 5 minutes. Click. He hangs up, and we go wild. We are rolling. I couldn't believe. Mind you, if there's any civilians living, we're not talking about an Army captain, a 26-year-old fella. We're talking about a Navy captain. So we roll around for a few minutes, and then I realize, oh man, the captain's about to call. What? And I want out. I want out. I'm grabbing, and I want out that door. I want out the door. But then I realize, friends, I did not do a lot of things right in the Navy. I am the first to admit that. But I realized I couldn't run out on Tom. I had caused this problem, and I couldn't let it fall on Tom. I know it sounds noble. Well, it doesn't sound very noble. It sounds sort of noble. But this was all my fault. At any rate, I said, I was the senior man. I said, everybody except you, Murphy, everybody out of the building. Get out. And they're saying, no, friend, we want to stay. And I said, out. You get out, 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 out. And the bums all grumbled and hiked and left out the door. And I said to Tom, this is all my fault. As the captain calls back, if the captain calls back, if there's a problem, give the phone to me. And I'll explain, I'll take the rap. And the phone rings. Tom picks it up and says, Northeastern Navy Band, Petty Officer Murphy speaking. This is an unsecure line. May I help you, sir? Yes, sir. Uh-huh. Yes, sir. I'm freaking. I'm absolutely freaking. And Tom's writing stuff down. And says, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for calling. And he hangs up. And I said, so, Tom, how did it go? And Tom said, not too bad. He said, whatever that was, it must have been pretty funny. And so it's a message for Mr. Chess, and I took the message. I said, Tom Murphy, I want to buy you a drink right now. And Tom said, well, there's a few minutes left on this watch. I said, you go put on your civvies, Tom Murphy. I'll sit here by the phone because I want to buy you a drink. And so he did. Tom changed his clothes and we drove out the 3rd Street gate, out to Admiral Kalfas Boulevard, down to the Rotary, turned down the dead end to Jeremiah's Pub. It's happy hour at Jeremiah's Pub. I opened the door, said, come on in, buddy, Tom. We walked in. The show band was there. They came to their feet and gave Tom a standing ovation. Tom Murphy, sailor.